puffy. You know what I'm saying? So, well, I want to welcome to our first. I guess this is our inaugural. Is that what we're calling this? This is
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
hot
we
stuff
can
here.
say
So
that.
let's see if we can hit it back over there. So for the people here, so mo money, mo problems managing your money with Owen Gerus and Billy Rabbitt. So awesome stuff. So Mr. Gerus, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to chat all things money with me.
Well, I'm happy to be here, Billy. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, hopefully this lasts more than just one show, so no pressure. So, so look, so Owen and I, we put our minds together, and I know that's a scary thing for most people if you know Owen or I, ugh. And we thought that there was a need or there was an opportunity to help people out with managing money. So, Owen is a long term. Though he's a young lad there. He's been in the mortgage business for quite some time. I myself is a local real estate agent, and Owen and I work together. I would say on a daily basis, probably more times than we like to, helping people out with getting them pre-approved or getting them ready to buy a house. And one of the opportunities that I know that Owen and I see every day is that there's a huge gap or an opportunity where people don't really understand how money works or how credit works. And honestly, it's a scary thing because, as they say, money makes the world go round. And if you're not sure, you're not totally familiar with how money works. You get yourself way behind the eight ball there. So Owen, thanks again. I appreciate it. Hopefully, like I said, this is going to be an ongoing thing. Take a few minutes here talking about different topics all around money. So
Monday.
hopefully we'll keep it fairly broad so that the masses can just enjoy our content here. But today I thought we would maybe get kick started off or start off with talking a little bit about budgets. Um, you
Budgets,
know, I,
yeah, man.
yeah, I know it's a topic that's near and dear to your heart. You talk about budgets quite a bit, trying to help people budget their money. Um, so, you know, I would say, and I don't know what the stat is. I could probably Google it real quick, but most people seem like they're living paycheck to paycheck anymore. I mean, is that what you're seeing too?
I'd say so. Yeah, there's quite a few that are out there doing that. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's very
it's
rare that we
difficult.
see. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got $1,000 car payment, you got $2,500 mortgage or $2,500 in rent, you got a $7 Starbucks coffee. I mean, it adds up awful quick. So when talking about budgets, I mean, what are some things that you think that we should share, or what are some of the different things like that? I mean, I know, our family has a budget. We go through different things like that. We try to monitor it the best we can. Um, but I mean, what do you do? I mean, what's I guess your insight on budgets and budgeting money?
Well, I think the first realistic step is looking at it from a point of view where you can just be real with yourself and say, hey, this is what I'm making right now. This is down to the dollar what I'm bringing home, and these are my fixed expenses. And then you can really start to figure out where you could spend a little bit of money if you want to save some money, where all that kind of ends up being, as long as you're really upfront and realistic with yourself. Because if someone comes and says, hey, I make $80,000 a year, but I want to, by the end of this year, I want to save up $50,000, that's just not realistic, because your take home pay just in general won't even cover that. So I think it just starts from that point, and then you're able to really start to dig in deeper there.
So you're telling me that those people that I see on Facebook and all those sponsored ads that I see where they got out of credit card debt, $100,000 of credit card debt, they got out of it in a year and a half because they didn't go to Subway anymore for lunch. I mean, you're saying that's not realistic?
Look, man, I'm not saying it's not possible, but you got to have a really, really good side hustle going on the other side of the equation. Um,
No
but
doubt,
there's
no
not enough
doubt.
hours in the day for everybody to do that, unless you're only working 4 hours.
No, and look, I mean, it's. I think as Americans or whatever, and I guess I'll put us all in this huge bucket together. But it is very easy to get behind.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's so much out there, right? So I mean, between if you have kids, the demand of kids, and keeping them up to date or keeping them on top of the new trends or whatever it may be. You got, like I was joking about earlier, you got $7 coffees now. Shoot, I think it's like $50 for 18 eggs now. So I mean,
inflation
it's
ain't helping. Inflation.
No. I mean, it adds up quick. And then the scary thing that I see on a frequent basis, and this is probably the scariest part for me, is I look how much people spend on cars. I mean, that's mind blowing.
Ooh.
I mean, we go and somebody, and I don't want to be stereotypical here, but let's say a young couple gets together and then, they're ready to buy a house or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden they got themselves like $1,000 or $1,500 in car payments a month, and that drastically just puts them behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I'm not saying that you don't go out and buy a new car or different things like that, but man, that's crazy. I mean, and I know used cars haven't been much easier either. So
no,
I mean it's rough. And then now with the cost of homes going up too. We're seeing people, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, it's a challenge. When somebody comes to me and says that they want their mortgage under $2,000 a month, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's going to be where somebody is going to have to set their expectations much lower than I think where they started off at. And it's sad. I mean, it's sad. I mean, and then you and I mean, we could talk for hours probably about the issues with different counties and different condo associations and all that mess that we're seeing. But, so getting back into budgets and not getting too far, derailed here.
Yeah.
So it's important to set a budget, okay? So where are people supposed to be at, if they say like, okay, this is my living expense. I mean, how much should they be budgeting? Let's say they're bringing home $4,000 every 2 weeks. I mean, where should they be at, I mean, are there certain like different parameters or numbers or what is that?
Oh yeah, and coming from the lending side, I think this is a bit more of a fair assessment to make when you're looking at all of it. You don't want your housing expense really to exceed like 34 or 35% of your gross monthly income. So to put that into easy numbers that people can have a pretty simple understanding of is, let's say you make $100,000, or let's just do $120,000 a year. So that means you're bringing in $10,000 a month, right? So off that $10,000 a month, you don't want your housing really to go above $3,500. From a mortgage side, that's really a nice sweet spot for all of us. It's not saying you can't go higher, but that's, when we look at it, we say, hey, this person knows their stuff about managing their funds and having a realistic budget. That's kind of that spot that you want to be at. So, if we're looking at a $10,000 a month individual, and that's just gross, that's not after taxes or anything. That's about $3,500 a month, and obviously we can do the math and run different equations to show what that percentage is for $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year. But, just to kind of keep it easy, that's where it would be looking at. Yeah. So when that's considered, that leaves plenty of room for your other expenses. You're going to be having to pay utilities on the house or, different things if you're living in an apartment, electricity, your streaming services. I know those are a big thing now. And then it also leaves you the ability to, buy vehicles, have some credit cards, make big purchases, different things like that. That's really where that number kind of comes into place.
I mean, and it's so easy to get, added up or get these things behind. I mean, like you said, I mean, you got a car payment, right? So you got a car payment that you're making. You have the streaming services, right? I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, I think we're like, I want to say we've got at least 2 or 3. I think we're going to be getting rid of Netflix, here personally in our household.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's easy to get there because you got some movies on this platform, you got some on that platform, you got the Super Bowl coming up or whatever. You got to, have that. So now you got this service. I mean, so it's easy to do that. Then we got movie or music services. So now you got all of a sudden you're streaming your music. So that's another $10 or whatever a month. So yeah, I mean, it adds up quickly to a point. Go ahead. What?
Oh, I was gonna say, I think, I mean, you know my fiance pretty well, and we sat down and added everything up, and we were paying probably close to 150 bucks a month between Peacock, Netflix, Spotify. We got two
Oh, no
Spotify
doubt.
accounts. Why? Like it's it's
Oh,
all pretty crazy, and
no, and I think they make
yeah,
most of their money on people forgetting to get rid of the services. You know what I mean? I mean that's probably where, I mean, I know to a point that there's even companies that will charge you just to help you manage the subscriptions. So you have a
right.
subscription to manage subscriptions, which is mind blowing. I mean, just absolutely ludicrous. So, but yeah. So I mean that adds up quick, and then I think it goes into a budget. I mean, eating out. Eating out for lunch or dinner or whatever it may be. I mean, I know that it's much easier sometimes to do that, but that stuff adds up quick too. I mean, like you're joking about the coffee,
Hmm.
but I mean, you go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts every day. I mean, you're talking about probably an extra $100 a month that you're spending on just coffee. I mean, in reality, you could get yourself a coffee maker and a thing of coffee or whatever, and probably spend a fraction of that. So it adds up quick.
I
There's no
mean,
doubt
even
about
if
that.
you yeah, I mean, just take it from an easy standpoint. Let's say you're spending $5, 5 days a week, and then you multiply that by 52. That's almost that's $1,300 a year. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Oh, it
It's
is.
just a crazy amount of money when you look at how these small pennies start to add up. And the same really is true. Count your pennies. And it's like, I mean, that's a very real thing.
Well, then here's the mind blowing thing about this is that you take that $1,300, and for the average American or the average person, you take that $1,300 and you take that and you put it onto your principal of your mortgage. Okay, so you eliminate that.
Okay.
You put $1,000. You just wiped out a whole year. I mean, a whole year
Oh
of
yeah.
mortgage payments. I mean, it's I mean it's amazing. I mean, we were running the math probably about 2-3 years ago, and I think it was like $10,000 took away 10 years of having to pay a mortgage. I mean, it was disgusting. I mean, it was absolutely just
Oh yeah.
upsetting or whatever to see that. So, I mean, it's the little things, and I think that's where I think most people need to realize is that I think when you think of credit or you think of budgets or you think of buying a house, a car, saving up for whatever it is, going back to school, it looks like such this huge daunting task, but in reality, it's really just a matter of taking bite-sized pieces of this thing and really just
Hmm.
looking down, sitting down, talking to a financial advisor, whatever it may be. I mean, I don't remember exactly what the stat was, but it was definitely alarming of how many Americans virtually don't have any type of retirement. They'll be working until they're dead, or until they're on Medicare, or
Hmm.
collecting Social Security, and hope to God Social Security is around, for people 30, 40 years from now. Um, but I mean that's alarming. You know what I mean? I mean, I know you and I
Hmm.
we enjoy working with the best of them, and we enjoy what we do, which is awesome. But man, I can't imagine having to go to work until I'm 60, 70 years old, you know what I mean? And I have to go to work. I mean, that would just be awful. So, um, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just think
Eh,
life's too short and precious to
Well,
have
you
to worry about that.
when you're 60 years old and you're still selling houses and you say, "Hey, I remember when a house in this neighborhood was only selling for 300,000. Now it's one
I
point
remember
five
when interest
million
rates
just
were
because of
5%.
inflation." That's gonna
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
No doubt on that.
exactly.
Yeah, no doubt on that. So I mean, it's amazing. I mean, but I mean, it's sickening. I mean, how many people? I mean, you and I know. I mean, we talk to these different people every day. I mean, it's somebody in their 50s, 60s have less than
Yeah,
$10,000 in a savings account. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah,
it's very disturbing. And look, everybody's situation is a little bit different, and that's fine and dandy. But you got to start somewhere. You got to have some type of plan. Because if you don't have some type of plan, or you don't have any type of goal to get to, you'll always be renting. You will always be living paycheck to paycheck. You'll always be working, and I think that's just so important, or whatever, when you start to really map that out, or whatever. And there's so many services for low cost, free cost. There's lots of different people and
Mm-hmm.
organizations that will, sit down and help you budget money, because this is a crisis. This is a real problem that, that we're up against. And, there's so many different resources out there for you to get ahead. Now, look, there's a lot of scams too. There's a lot of people looking just to take your money, which is unfortunate. But there are a lot of rare, very, very good resources out there to, help you, become a little bit more financially independent. Um, so we talked about setting a budget, looking at all your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of talked a little bit about, back end ratios, or talked a little bit about kind of what your housing costs should be in relation to what your total income is. Um, that of course is going
Yeah.
to vary, like you said. But I mean, what are some other financial tips or things around budgets, or setting budgets, or mapping out a financial goal that you would recommend?
Well, this being, kind of our first conversation, kind of diving into this for people to get a deeper understanding of it. I think not only is it important to, have be realistic with yourself about what you're bringing in, but I think the other big thing is actually sticking to something. Um, Not just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have $10,000 saved up over the course of the next 3 months, and I'm gonna buy a house." Well, how are you gonna do it? What are you? Maybe you're giving up something, maybe you're getting a raise, whatever it may be. How are you gonna do it? And really understanding what all that entails. Um, when if you're looking at the picture and maybe your income staying consistent throughout that time frame, you know what all is going into that. You know exactly what your paychecks are going to be. um, what are you taking out of that to put towards savings? And I know you and I have helped countless clients put themselves into a better position, just by helping them map that out. Whether they're looking to use grant programs or whatever it may be. Um, what we've talked about before is saying, hey, why don't you stay away from those so you can get a lower interest rate, and take the next 2 months and tell me how you're going to take those 2 months to save up $6,000, $8,000, whatever the cost that we really set for them is,
I think that's the
and
challenge,
really
though.
having that set up. Mm-hmm. What?
I mean, that's the challenge, though, is that unfortunately most people don't start planning for these things until they're 2 months out from their lease expiring, and now they need somewhere to live,
Right.
or they're 30 days out, even worse, or their landlord has just told them,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not renewing your lease, I'm selling the property, you got to be out in 45 days. Um, it's amazing. I mean, just almost disturbing. If they were to just set these goals up 6 months prior to actually having to act on them, they would be so much better off. I mean, so much better off. I mean, just
Oh
just
yeah.
tremendously off by either being able to save up a little bit of money, um, or being able to fix or address different things on their credit. Which sometimes is a simple fix. I mean, it would it
Yeah.
would it would it would it would even put them in even a better financial spot. And I know that's a challenge, and very few
Mm-hmm.
clients do this. But when we speak to somebody and we let them know, and then we say, okay, hey, your credit score's at this, it's at a 610, 620. If you get to 660, you're at such a better spot. Blah blah blah. Well, they can't do it
Mm-hmm.
because they're so fixated, or they're just so ready to go, or they're in that position now, and it's upsetting. I mean, it's disturbing, and then unfortunately, some of those clients are the ones that continue to have bad financial, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden they're never able to refinance out to get a better rate because their interest, whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I totally agree. I mean, starting as far out, and I think one of the other challenges is that we don't talk about credit. Um, we don't
Yeah.
we don't talk about credit until somebody's ruined their credit, and that's unfortunate. Um, I mean, when's the
Right.
last time that somebody had a conversation with their, high school child or whatever, or, has done different things for them to position themselves in a much better spot to show them financial responsibility? You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
times kids are going into school, they're able to get, they go into college, they get a some type of grant, or they get some type of financial help or whatever that's fairly easy to get a hold of. You know what I mean? So they go through college, they don't really understand that because they're not making any payments. They might have a part-time job or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, working during the summer. They get out of college, They're thrown into a job making 70, 80, $100,000 a year, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden or whatever, they go to apply for
Yeah.
that first credit card, and the first credit card says, "Yeah, here's $15,000, here's $10,000, just pay it back." Well, they've never budgeted for any of that, right? I mean, they don't really understand. They don't
Right.
understand the impact of, and then we live in a society of 0% interest, and it lures everybody in. Well, I mean, banks get rich. I mean, look,
It's not forever.
it's not forever. And let's face it, the banks are not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. It is a way
Hmm.
to lure people in so that they can get them to use their products. And then the hope is, or the point of this is that they don't want you to pay. I mean, they want you to pay the interest. It's how banks make money. Um, so
I will say this about that. Too many times I see, maybe someone gets that 0% Home Depot card so they can put a new air conditioning system in their house, or put a new roof on their house, whatever it is. But I know Home Depot and Lowe's and all those companies, they offer that 0% for 12 months. Well, after that 12 months, that 0% is over. Um, so you want to pay it in that 12-month time frame. So you also have to plan and budget for that. Maybe you run over a month or two, and that's not the end of the world or anything. But the longer you let that sit without having to make those payments, or making the minimum payments, it's just going to eat into the money you have accessible to do other things. Whether it is buy a car, or buy a house. It doesn't really matter. Go on that dream vacation. Being smart and having a good understanding that, hey, this isn't always how it's going to be with that 0% interest rate, that teaser rate that they're giving you. It's very important to know that, and I don't think everybody reads that fine print that's always at the bottom of that sheet.
well, I think everybody too. I mean, we budget, or we think that, okay, hey, I'm going to borrow $1,000, is zero interest. That's fine and dandy for 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. But then the problem really lies is that, like you said, they pay a minimum. They pay $25 for 4 months, 5 months, whatever it is, and now all of a sudden $1,000 is due. Well, they don't have $1,000 because that $1,000 that they had set aside, or they thought was there to pay it off, was now used for something else, because that's just how we are. That's how we are. It's human behavior. You see the
Hmm.
money in the account, and
Yeah.
you're running, and you're using it for something else now. So, I mean, it does. I mean, and look, that's the whole point of a credit score, right? I mean, the whole point of a credit score
Hmm.
is to more or less show your credit worthiness, or how responsible you are with the money, because the higher the credit score, the more responsible, or the less risk that you are, to a bank. And so, those people are benefiting, and it's a vicious cycle of the people that aren't, or the ones that paying higher interest rates, and they're more risky, they're harder to get loans, they got to get co-signers, they got to whatever. And so it is. So look, I'm a huge fan of 0% interest rates, credit cards. I mean, I think we've made a lot of
Yeah.
purchases personally off of doing that, but you have to treat it as a loan, right? I mean, you're loaning
Yeah.
that money from your parents, and you got to pay your parents back. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just the benefit of that. And you kind of have to get into a point of where, okay, if I'm borrowing $5,000 to do, like you said, a home project, I'm then budgeting and saying I'm going to pay X amount of dollars back, so that when it comes to a month or two before this is due, I'm able to pay this in full, and I've reaped the rewards of the 0%, and that's one of the benefits
Right.
of it. So, but
And
yeah,
that's where that budgeting really comes in.
no, you're exactly right. I mean, look, I've known some very good friends of mine that at a very young age were given credit cards, and was given this and given that, and they racked up these credit cards, and it's been very difficult for them. I mean, it's been a much more challenging life for them, where this person makes decent money and could
Hmm.
definitely afford a house, but has literally been renting for the last 15 years because he messed up his credit when he was 18, 21 years old. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a shame. It really is. So Owen, I know we've been chatting and rambling on for about 20, 25 minutes now. Anything else for this wonderful episode?
No, no, I think this is a good, touch of the water, dipping our toes in, and looking forward to the upcoming weeks having us, put out some more good information, going a little bit deeper into all this stuff.
No, definitely, and I'm excited. I know we've got some special guests lined up. I'm excited to get them on, talk a little bit more money, more about money and budgeting and finances and credit and all those wonderful things that make the world go round. And please, I mean, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for the show, send us a note. There's a certain topic that you'd like for us to touch on. We'd be more than happy to kind of
Hmm.
rumble through that. And hopefully that this podcast and different things like that, hopefully it will impact at least somebody out there and help somebody either get themselves out of a bad predicament, or hopefully prepare them so that they don't get themselves into that position. So, Owen, anything else for the people, man, before we sign off?
No, that's all. Just more money, more problems, and we're gonna help you figure it all out.
Absolutely, that's what we're here for. So, as always, it's Billy Rabbit. And this is my good friend, Mr. Owen Gerus. And please tune in next time
Thank
for
you.
our next episode of Mo Money, Mo Problems, Managing Your Money with